Pranam to all Gurujis, Dr. Shuklaji and Justice Sachin Kapoorji and all elders, and also my pranams to my fellow faculty members. Today I am going to talk about Rahu Ketu, the karmic control planet, control planets and their axis, Rahu Ketu axis. So normally we use Rahu Ketu in our predictions along with other planets and all, and we are going to give some of the suggestions and other things while predicting the natives' life related incidents and all. So my sincere and humble request to all of you is, when anyway you will be, by looking at the chart, you will be able to predict, but consider Rahu Ketu as karmic planets, which I am going to talk about now in this presentation. Consider those points as well as their axis, and then if you give your predictions, I'm sure your predictions will have more value and accuracy to them. What is karmic relationship and how can we recognize? Karma is nothing but process of experience. So what we set into motion, whatever we do, produce results and effects, and if they are not fulfilled in this life, they are automatically carried forward to the to be done in our future lives. So this also we know that, because this also related to our karma theory. So consider the astrological birth chart as a unique blueprint of our soul. It is concerned with the karma. How? Energies of Rahu Ketu and karmic path. Rahu represents our deepest desires, that is the karmic path, which means very purpose of this life of the native, and shows where our life forces are flowing. Rahu makes us do things, break the boundaries, and take risks in order to achieve. Our deepest emotional secret lies in the house where Rahu is residing. Remember, our deepest emotional secret lies in the house where Rahu is residing. Ketu represents wisdom, non-attachment, and psychic abilities. Spiritually, Ketu may be exceptional influence, but being a low energy, it directly affects the physical and material reality in that particular aspect of human existence. Astronomy and karmic connection, which you all know. Astronomically, Rahu and Ketu denote the points of intersection of the paths of the Sun and the Moon as they move on the celestial sphere. Therefore, Rahu and Ketu are respectively called as north and south nodes, as they symbolically eclipse the Sun. Here, Sun means consciousness of an individual, and the Moon, the mind, and they have a great part to play in darkening our perspective in order to bring in the new life. So Rahu Ketu deal with the concept of death and rebirth, transformation and regeneration. So Rahu and Ketu always move together. This also everybody knows about it. Rahu and Ketu are always opposite to each other in the horoscope at 180 degrees. The nodes change signs every 18 months approximately. So that means they will be moving. So if you take the current position of Rahu and Ketu, Rahu is in Taurus, almost ready to enter in a few days into Aries, and Ketu is already there in Scorpio. It is ready to enter into Libra. So people born with our within our lunar node groups are like our soul brides. So whosoever Rahu Ketus are posited in those houses, in the same houses of the horoscopes, they are like a soul tribe. So Rahu and Ketu show our karma bandhan or divine duties. What we are supposed to do, what is the karma we bring in, and how do we redeem that? That's what we are going to do it in this particular life. The soul's journey in a particular lifetime and its connection with the elemental life is indicated by the position of Rahu and Ketu. Ketu deals with past karma and Rahu with the future. Remember, Ketu deals with the past karma and Rahu with the future. Both Rahu and Ketu have the ability to keep our mind focused on the six instincts which we all know: Kam, Krodh, Moh, Madh, Lobh, and Matsarya. Rahu by exaggerating and Ketu by obscuring or blocking these things. So they are the axis of life which indicates the path of spiritual growth from the past life Ketu to the future Rahu. Knowledge of both past and present are needed for true understanding of the life. The past shapes the personality we are now, the negative and positive karma we are going to experience. The past shapes the personality we are now, the negative and positive karma we are going to experience. We cannot understand a horoscope completely without first understanding the meaning of Rahu Ketu axis, that is a placement, and what their placement in different houses may mean. So it is noticed that the native is most insecure about the house or about those aspects of life that are indicated by the house and sign that Ketu is placed. Once again, I repeat, it is noticed that the native is most insecure about those aspects of life that are indicated by the placement of Ketu in a particular house. Rahu's placement indicates the attitude that the native adopts in an obsessive manner to conquer this root anxiety. So these two planets or these 2 points are always a part of polar opposites and mutually complementary qualities. Now, let us see the Ketu's position in the houses and what it is. If you go back to the point, see, if notice a native is most insecure about the aspects of life, right, where Ketu is posted. Let us see those things when Ketu is posted in each house. Ketu in the first house are Aries. The person is always insecure about his self-esteem based on his basic doubts about his capabilities. So he needs to be successful quite frequently at different initiatives in order to remain convinced about his intrinsic self-worth. So he obsesses over his friends, relatives, and partners, how they perceive him because of Rahu's placement in the seventh house or the Libra sign. So he obsesses how his friends, relatives, and parents perceive him because of Rahu's placement in the seventh house. Now, Ketu in the second house are Taurus. The person is always insecure about his possessions and love from his immediate family. This naturally arouses in them extremely suspicious and jealous nature. The native cannot withstand if somebody is taking care of his family members more than him. So some kind of jealousy feels. This happens because Rahu's placement in the 8th house or Scorpio sign. Now, Ketu in the 3rd house or Gemini. The person is very insecure about his communication ability, his ability to succeed in his efforts, the quality of his information, fearful of being trapped in a narrow comfort zone of his limited ideas and perceptions, etc. So he tries to compensate by obsessively collecting more and more knowledge in his area of interest. This happens because of Rahu's placement in the 9th house or Sagittarius sign, which is of higher knowledge, gurus, foreign ideology, cultures, etc. Ketu in the 4th house or Cancer. The person is very insecure about the safety as well as the love of his motherland, his property, his home, getting unconditional love in general, etc. So he compensates by obsessively trying to control, order, and systematize everything in his life. This negative attitude happens because Rahu is placed in the 10th house or Capricorn sign, which is ruled by the controlling, angry, dictatorial, and judgmental Saturn. Now, Ketu in the 5th house or Leo. The person makes one insecure about one's self-expression or individuality. So he compensates by drowning himself in groups, teams, gangs of friends, etc. This happens because of Rahu's placement in the 11th house or Aquarius sign, the placement that represents groups, teams, organizations, social networks, innovation, gains, etc. So Ketu is in the sixth house or Virgo. The person is insecure about his health, mainly health and hygiene. So they are very cautious about the purity of the air, water, food that they consume. Very conscious about the general hygiene too. So this happens because Rahu's placement in the 12th house or Pisces sign of escape from mundane life and its limitations. Similarly, you can intuit the placement of Ketu from 7th to 12th houses by interpreting through the basic archetypes of those houses. The past life connection comes in here in the sense that one is insecure about those aspects of the life where one has suffered the most in the past lives, in the previous lives. This insecurity comes because the native has suffered in previous lives in those areas. That is what Ketu represents. It also means that one has become very strong in the same area where the misfortunes came. So in this life, in the same areas, one trying to be, very strong in those areas, which were insecurities in the previous life where he suffered. For example, a Virgo Ketu can be a very good physician because of extreme interest in health and hygiene matters that developed in him because of his personal proneness and diseases in the past births. Also, a good lawyer because he may have betrayed in the past lives because of his lack of legal knowledge or not knowing the finer details. He can also become an accountant, a banker, or economist because of his attraction for financial resources. So there would be a very strong tendency to save money for the future. The person may have seen a lot of poverty in previous lives where he really understood the power of money in his material world. So these are some of the characteristics of Ketu in which he must have suffered in the previous lives. So he is going to be very careful in these areas in this life, provided Ketu is positioned in the sixth house or in Virgo. So what is karmic destiny? The basic concept is that moon's nodes work as a vacuum tube connecting the past karmas with the present destiny. This actually brings us to the Hindu concept of some form of reincarnation or rebirth process. Apart from Rahu and Ketu in deciding the destiny of the individual, the retrograde planets also play a very important role. So, as a simple rule, Ketu tells us about our past karmas brought in this birth, and Rahu will tell how we are to redeem them. So, Ketu has been assigned the responsibility of inlet of karmas from the past life. Rahu is responsible for the redemption of past karmas in this life. Their location through the signs and houses in a birth chart will help us to understand more of karmic destiny in this lifetime. The redeeming network of Rahu consists of the great grand trine houses that include the positions of Rahu in the natal chart. For example, see the grand trines are dharma houses, ardha houses, kama houses, and moksha houses, which you all know: 1, 5, 9, 2, 6, 10, 3, 7, 11, and 4, 8, 12 respectively. So, for example, if Rahu is placed in the seventh house, its distribution network will consist of the houses 3, 7, 11. So, what are the karmic controlling planets? The planets ruling the signs of Rahu and Ketu are called the karmic controlling planets. Ketu in the inlet point of karma, the planet ruling the sign Ketu is called the past life control. Ketu is the inlet point of karma. The planet ruling the sign of Ketu is called as past life karmic control. The planet ruling the sign of Rahu controls the karmic distribution control. The controlling planets have strong implications depending upon where they fall in the chart and the aspect they make with the nodal axis. So I repeat, the planets that are ruling the signs of Rahu Ketu are called karmic control planets. I will show you this through an example in the next slide. The aspect made by the control planet to the nodal axis of great significance in karmic understanding. So aspects also play an important role here. For all practical purposes, we should take the shortest or smallest aspect between the controlling planet and the nodal axis. So This also I'll explain the next slide in detail. Now, some of the rules are the points which you have to remember before analyzing a chart. Say, the nodes work as a vacuum tube connecting the past karmas with the present destiny, which we have already discussed. Rule 1. Find the placement of Ketu, which is the past life karmic energy, and Rahu, the karmic energy distribution in the chart. See the below chart, example chart. In this example, Rahu is placed in Aquarius, which is an Aries sign, and Ketu is positioned in Leo, which is a fiery sign, as per Kalapurusha, and 4th and 10th houses respectively as per the natal chart. Here the Lagna is Scorpio in the example. Now rule 2. Find the controlling planet, that is the planets ruling the signs occupied by Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is in Aquarius, so the lord of Aquarius is Saturn, and Ketu is posited in Leo, so Sun is the lord of that particular Leo house. So the Sun and Saturn become the karmic controlling planets. Remember, I repeat the thing, Ketu is the inlet past karma planet, Rahu is the karmic energy distribution planet, and these planets are posited in which houses? The house lords are going to be karmic controlling planets. Karmic controlling planets. Next. Rule 3. First, consider the placement of the ruling planet of Ketu, that is the planet of past karma. Next planet to be considered is ruling planet of Rahu, the planet of karmic distribution control. Now, the fourth rule, need to be differentiate between the ruling dasa of karmic planets and other planets. So we have to be very clear in identifying the dasas which are related to karmic planets. Karmic planets, that is karmic control planets, means in the previous example they are Saturn and Sun. So you have to be separately understand and differentiate the actual dasas and this karmic control planet dasas. The dasa periods of Rahu and Ketu are also karmic and are to be delineated differently. So here 4 dasas you need to be very careful. One is Rahu, other one is Ketu, and the next one is the Rahu Ketu where they are posited, those dispositor lords. Respectively, here Saturn is Rahu's placement lord, and Sun is Ketu's placement lord. So all these 4 dasas we have to delineate differently and understand their importance. Rule 5. See the aspects between Rahu and Ketu with the natal planets. Suppose any planets are posited along with Rahu Ketu, so that also you need to consider. For a conjunctions and oppositions, we have the orb up to 10 degrees, but for other aspects, the orb is not allowed for more than 1 degree. Here, the planets which are associated either with Ketu or with Rahu, if they are within the 10 degrees of those those planets, then only we have to consider them. If they are beyond that, then we don't need to consider them. Similarly, their aspects 1 degree. If the Rahu Ketu aspects on their houses, if any planet is within the 1 degree of that, then only we have to consider. All transiting aspects of nodes to the planets in the chart are karmic points. The aspects of conjunction and positions of any nodes are very significant to the planets in the natal chart. The aspects of conjunction and position of any node are very significant to the planet natal chart. So if the aspects of Rahu Ketu are very, very important. Significant means important. Now what we do is, now we have understand few rules and regulations and what is karmic planet, what are the karmic control planets, karmic distribution, past karma, etc. So let us apply those things in couple of charts. Let us see one by one. I would like to explain the first chart in detail with all the rules which we have discussed just now, and the remaining charts I will just apply only the important events of that particular native and explain how they are connected to the karmic connectivity. This is the chart. Here the Lagna is Capricorn, Venus is posited there, 2nd house Sun, 3rd house Mercury, 4th house Ketu, and important. And then 6th house retrograde Jupiter, 7th house 7th house retrograde Jupiter, 8th house retrograde Saturn, and Rahu is in 10th along with Mars and Moon. So this is the position of the planets. Ketu is positioned in the fourth house, which is the inlet of past karma. So this native's past karma is connected to the fourth house where Ketu is posited. Rahu is posited in the 10th house for karmic distribution control. The second, sixth, and 10th houses, the great trines, the grand trines. Second house, because it is positioned in 10th house, so the second, sixth, and 10th houses are trines. So the karmic distribution energy is to be spread into these houses. Houses for the distribution and utilization of past karma during this lifetime. So how he redeemed those past karmas in this life using the second house, sixth house, and 10th house karakatva. So remember that this elemental analysis will not tell us a lifelong story, but a path that is significant in the life of a person. Now, the native has suffered emotionally for want of love and affection from his parents in his childhood. This is due to Ketu in the fourth house, and it was also karmic. Normally, we know that wherever Ketu is posited, it is nothing but disconnecting the materialistic world with the native. So, but Ketu is in Aries. So, but this fourth house is Aries, which is a fiery sign. So, this gave him tremendous amount of energy to fight his own way to establish his own individuality, and it was karmic again. Had Ketu been in some other element like air, water, or earth, then the karmic destiny would have been totally different. Rahu will redeem his karmic destiny through second, sixth, and 10th houses, as stated earlier, through air and earth elements in this birth. So during this time, he had to work very hard as it is the sixth house affairs. See how the redemption of the past karma. During this time, he had to work very hard as it is the sixth house affairs. Financially, the second house, he had never been well off except for a short period in between. Vocation, the 10th house, he had changed several professions. So this is what happened. This is how he redeemed his past karmas in this life. Let us see some more. Now, yeah, Rahu in Libra and Ketu in Aries. So how do we look at this? The previous birth of this person, he had spent with a lot of physical actions, temper, and aggression, and he could not learn to understand the significance of balance. Rahu's placement in Libra house is indicative of that the person doesn't have balance in life in the previous life, which he is going to learn in this life and try to balance the event after learning or going through some experience in this particular life. In this life, he will definitely learn and be able to use the concept of balance as applied to soul growth. So Rahu in the 10th and Ketu in the 4th. Now the houses. In the first we have taken the signs, now we are taking the houses. This condition often signifies stronger success in the professional or career area. Everybody knows that Rahu in the 10th especially will give better career to anyone with, of course, hard work. However, some drawbacks are noticed in the home affairs. It is because Ketu is in the fourth house. Because the individual converts all his domestic energies into professional direction, the satisfaction and the fulfillments through the home are fairly low for him. So he is going to put all his efforts towards the professional life. So obviously, when he is more concentrating on professionally growing himself in profession, so he will not be able to concentrate much on home affairs. So his individuality and stronger ego are worth noticing here. His first half of the life is not very enjoyable as compared to the second half of life. Now, ruler of the sign occupied by Ketu is Mars. So where Ketu is positioned, it is in Aries. The ruler of that, or the lord of the house, is Mars. And the ruler of the sign occupied by Rahu is Venus, that is Libra. So both Mars and Venus are going to be the karmic controlling planets of this native. So they also play an important role in major events of this native's life. Mars is the planet of past karma, past life karma, and Venus is the planet of karmic distribution control. First, we consider the position of his Mars, the planet of past karma. Mars in the Libra in the 10th house. So let us combine the characteristics of all the three elements, that is Mars, Libra, and the 10th house. Then we will get a clear picture. The characteristics of Mars are fire, quarrels, energy, initiative efforts, pain, etc. That is in the past birth. He was quarrelsome, fiery, and full of energy. So, as he could not balance himself in the past birth, Libra sign, because Rahu's position there, he is to suffer in this life, in his marital life too, because Libra sign also for marriage in the natural zodiac, and his vocation, because it is the 10th house from the Lagna. So he will be suffering in all these areas. So he has to suffer and learn lessons and trying to balance his life. Mars is the ruler of the fourth house, so he will suffer in the fourth house affairs too. So that is in this birth, that is mother, domestic peace and harmony, etc. It is also due to his past life karmic control situation. Now, next planet to be considered is Venus, the planet of karmic distribution control. Keynotes for Venus are love, beauty, money, etc. So Venus is in the first house of Capricorn. We are to blend these three characteristics, that is the Venus, first house and Capricorn, to understand the karmic distribution control in this birth. Capricorn is a sign of ambition but of restrictions also, and the first house means the person. Naturally, the present life of the native will be full of ambitions but of restrictions also with regard to the keynotes of Venus. So with love, affection, money, he has got some restrictions. However, he wanted to grow, he will not be able to do so because of the restrictions that are connected to Capricorn. Mars conjunction with Rahu in the 10th house. Orb is within 10 degrees. So here Mars is posited less than 10 degrees with Rahu, and that is in Libra. So this is quite fortunate and powerful aspect. Strong personal elevation is sought in life, basically due to karmic hidden support. Money and resources become the key issues behind the go-getter professional image. If you look at it, 2, 6, 10 also Ardha Trikona. So those two are very important for this native. Those things, money and Ardha related, all Ardha related. So he is, for him the money is very important. Resources are also very important. He doesn't waste time. Temper and aggressiveness go hand in hand to achieve the objective without wasting any time. So he's very particular, very clear, very calculative. Strong assistance from brothers and sisters is seen in getting ahead in life or vice versa. Now, Venus square to Rahu Ketu. If you look at it, Venus is positioned in the Lagna, Capricorn, and Ketu is in the 4th house, Rahu is in the 10th house. This is a quite frustrating or stressful aspect. However, it does provide a lot of fighting spirit to the native to overcome many obstacles because Ketu's position in the fiery sign. So this aspect has most karmic learning process in native's life. This aspect has got the most karmic learning. So he will learn the maximum, karmic lessons in this life itself. Thus, he fulfills sustainable balance of karma in this life alone. So he will try to fulfill all his karmic debts, whatever he brought in this life because of this particular position. Now, Moon also conjunct Rahu. Basically, this aspect represents better emotional distribution within or without the native. So support from mother or mother image is of utmost importance for him in this life because he lost the affection from his mother. He did not lose his mother, but he is away from his parents. So these people go through the ultra high and low emotional stages in this category. Wherever Moon and Rahu are connected, and in general also we predict that they are emotionally very strong, and it is difficult to deal with them in certain situations. As a result, it is best not to provoke them emotionally at the wrong time. So this is a precaution which we need to keep in mind. Sun trine to Rahu. This aspect provides good popularity, personal elevation, and execution of proper ego for him. Circumstantial assistance in getting recognized in the world is also noticed. Success is in the public life or even in politics is seen. So if this native enters into public life or in the sense anything related to public, connected to public, or in the politics, definitely will succeed in those areas because of the Sun trine to Rahu. Now, let us see the Dasa periods. Now, in Saturn Dasa, he was completely disowned by his parents and he had to work hard and earn his own livelihood. So, he was totally away from his parents. He was not taken care by his parents. In Mercury Dasa, he started his own business, but this period was full of struggles, sufferings, and fluctuations, though every suffering brought him an additional experience or knowledge to him. Ketu Dasa being the Karmic Dasa, his life was completely changed. Ketu is placed in the asterism of Venus. If you notice, Ketu is in the nakshatra of Venus, and it became all the more important because Venus is one of the karmic control planets. See the beauty. Ketu is positioned in Venus asterism or Venus nakshatra, and it happens to be that Venus is one of his karmic controlling planets, where Rahu is posited. This Ketu Dasa made him religious and spiritualistic from selfish and materialistic approach. So he learned all his lessons, life lessons in the Ketu Dasa itself. Venus Dasa, planet of karmic distribution control, brought about complete revolution, rejuvenation in his life. Had it not been Venus, then the karmic controlling planet, then the results of Venus would have been totally different. Because of karmic controlling planet, he was able to get the complete revolution, rejuvenation in his life. He was fortunate enough because most of his karmic debts of the past birth were paid during Saturn and Mercury Dasa, and Ketu Dasa taught him a very big lesson. The next transits. Those are the dasas which we have seen. Now let us see the transits. The following are the results of transit Rahu and Ketu on the natal planets in the native's horoscope. Transit Rahu conjunct natal Ketu. The dasas of three planets, Saturn in 1926 and Mercury in 1948 and Ketu in 1966, were very bad and had their distinct characteristics in his life by causing sufferings and downfall. Now, transit of Rahu conjunct natal Rahu. First time in 1930, 39-40, he got married and also got his first job. Second time in 1957, he was released from all his sufferings and bondage imposed on him. Third time in 1975-76, his astrological works were recognized and was invited to visit foreign countries to speak on Hindu astrology. Now, some more transit. Transit Rahu conjunct with natal planets. When Rahu conjuncted Sun in 1951, brought about a financial relief because Sun is in trine with Rahu. Rahu conjunction Venus in 1952 was the most unfortunate part of his life. Venus is the karmic controlling planet for the present lifetime. That you have to remember. Rahu conjunction Saturn in 1961 brought about his daughter's marriage and a rise in his employment. Rahu conjunction Jupiter during the year, he was again promoted. Rahu transit on the 6th house in 1964 completely destroyed him, almost. Rahu conjunction Mercury in 1969 brought heavy losses in business and he was almost completely ruined. Rahu conjunction Venus in 1971, except his physical survival, nothing was left. He lost everything. With the entry of Rahu in his 12th house, he had to rebuild his life all over again. So remember, whenever transit Rahu will come to conjunct the Ketu or other karmic control planets, the outcome will always be malefic. For other planets, it will depend on the other factors too. So you have to see the positional aspect and PSE. All the three you have to see and then decide about the other things. So that's about the first case, which in detail I have dealt with. I've shown the transits on the Rahu Ketu and transit of Rahu on Rahu and Ketu, and then transit Rahu on different planets. Also, I have discussed about dasas. Also, I discussed about the position of karmic controlling planets along with Rahu Ketu and other things. Now, I'm not going to tell you completely in detail about like how we discussed in the first chart, but the major events of the life of those natives we will be discussing, connecting with karmic destiny. Case study 2. Here, this is John F. Kennedy. Everybody knows he was the president of United States of America. Both Mercury, dispositor of Ketu, and Jupiter, dispositor of Rahu, are karmic control planets. Here, The Lagna is Virgo Lagna, and the Ketu is posited in Gemini, and Rahu is posited in Sagittarius. So Mercury and Jupiter are going to be karmic controlling planets. Venus being the Yoga Karaka planet, second and ninth lord, and placed in Taurus and in the ninth house, along with Jupiter, karmic distribution control planet, and Sun, the 10th lord. Remember these positions. Ketu, Venus, the lord of second and ninth, is positioned in ninth house, along with the 12th lord Sun and the karmic distribution control planet Jupiter. This combination makes him a great in life, but also will destroy him at the pinnacle of the glory. Whenever he is in top position, and he will lose that position suddenly. Mercury, the inlet of karma, past karma, because Ketu is positioned in Gemini. And Lagna Lord also is the Lagna Lord, is in conjunction with Mars in the 8th house with 8th Lord. You see, Ketu, the posited in Gemini, then the dispositor of Ketu is Mercury, who is also Lagna Lord, is posited in the 8th house along with the 8th Lord in 8th house. So this combination also makes him great, but will destroy, this also will destroy him suddenly. So these 2 points are very important for his sudden demise. Ketu in the 10th house in its fall. See, it is Ketu's, according to some astrologers, according to some scholars, that is Ketu's debilitation position, and this is Rahu's exaltation position, both Gemini and Sagittarius. So according to that, Ketu is in 10th house, its fall in Gemini, and is by itself enough to indicate that he will not be able to complete his term as president. Ketu in the 10th house is not termed favorable for the second half of life and does not promise lasting prosperity and happiness. This is another important point which we all know. So Ketu is actually disintegrates, or what do you call, little detaches from the materialistic world. So that is also one reason why the second part of the life is not going to be that great when compared to the first part. Mars, the planet of arms and violence, and also the ruler of 8th, is in the 8th house, house of death. It was a foregone conclusion that the native will meet the unnatural violent death, especially when Mercury, the Lagna Lord, and also the karmic control planet, is in conjunction with Mars. So posited in the asterism of Sun, the 12th Lord, house of self-undoing and suffering. So he became president on 21st January 1961 during Rahu Moon Dasa, and Moon is placed 9th to Rahu in the natal chart, if you look at it. Both the planets are placed on the asterism of Venus, Yoga Karaka planet, placed in the Taurus in the 9th house. That is why he got that particular yoga. He was assassinated on 22nd November 1963, that is 21, 21. Or let's go back. When he became president, it was on January 21st, 1961, and in 1963, almost 2.5 years plus, or nearly 3 years. 22 November 1963, in the Jupiter and Jupiter Dasa, he was assassinated. Jupiter, the karmic distribution control planet, is placed on the asterism of Sun, the ruler of the natal 12th house. If you look at the nakshatra where Jupiter is posited, his violent death was karmic, indicated by the position of Rahu and Ketu in his natal chart. In 1960-61, transit Rahu was on his natal moon, and transit Saturn and Jupiter were on his natal Rahu. This is the reason why he became president of America. He got the highest post. Jupiter conjunction Rahu got him elected, but Saturn conjunction Rahu will not let him complete his term. On 22/11/1963, transit Rahu came to conjunct natal Ketu in the 10th house, and this transit by itself was enough to destroy him. That is the 10th house affairs. So that's how he was not able to continue in the full term in the presidential post, as well as lost his life. Now, case study 3. Incidentally, I am taking his wife's chart so that we can prove both the things. It is also there in her chart. So let us see how it is indicated. Here, this chart belongs to Mrs. John F. Kennedy, the First Lady of America. So, Moon, ruler of the 10th house with Rahu in the 7th, is responsible for her becoming the First Lady of United States of America, wife of the President. Ketu is in the ascendant in Libra, the sign of marriage, is responsible to make her widow twice. Sudden fall from the position can also happen. Ketu is in the ascendant in Libra, the sign of marriage, is responsible to make her widow twice. Remember, Venus, why twice, why not more than that? I will explain in my next slide. Venus and Mars, I mean, how we have decided it's only twice and not the third time. Venus and Mars are her karmic controlling planets who happen to be the rulers of her ascendant and 7th house respectively. If you look at the chart, see here the Libra is the Lagna where Ketu is posited. The karmic control planet is Venus, and Rahu is posited in Aries. The karmic control planet is Mars. So they are incidentally placed in the 1st house and 7th house, Libra and Aries respectively. They are also the natural planets of marriage and sex. Venus and Mars in a square aspect, thus denying her the matrimonial happiness in this birth. We all know that Venus and Mars, when they are square to each other, the marital happiness will be barred. They will not be much happiness in the marital life to the native. Mars trine to Rahu. This aspect provides her added physical strength and reserve energies. She may not marry any more than twice because 9th house is for second marriage and 9th lord is in the 10th house indicating second marriage. But 11th house is for third marriage if it indicates. But in her case, it is posited in Sun in the 12th house from its position. That is why she had only 2 marriages and she could not marry second time. Unfortunately, she lost her second husband also after some time. President Kennedy was assassinated on 22/1/1963 when she was undergoing Moon Rahu subperiod. Moon is on the asterism of Ketu and Rahu is on the asterism of planet Venus, planet of incoming karmic control. Venus is in the 8th house of death. It was due to her past karmas that she was to suffer in this birth in her married life too. At this time, transit Rahu in Cancer was opposing her natal sun, transit Saturn in Capricorn, square to natal Rahu Ketu. So you can actually look at the transit position on 22/1/1963 in her case and then match with the results which I have given here. That's about how Mrs. John F. Kennedy and John F. Kennedy, they are connected to each other, and how both of their karmic life connected in this life when they were alive. Now, let us take another example of Dr. Babu Rajendra Prasad, who was our first president of India. In this case, the Lagna is Sagittarius Lagna, where Mars and Mercury are posited. Ketu is in the 4th house, and Jupiter is a karmic control planet. Rahu is posited in Virgo, and Mercury is the karmic control planet. Both Mars, the Lord of 5th, and Mercury, the Lord of 10th, are together posited in the Lagna, which is Raja Yoga. But this yoga itself is not sufficient to raise a native to the first president of India, as it is a quite common yoga with many people. 5th Lord and 10th Lord positing in the 1st house is a common Raja Yoga. Jupiter, the Lagna Lord posited in Leo, in the 9th house, and the disposition of Sun has gone to 12th house. Jupiter, the Lagna Lord, is posited in 9th house, and the 9th Lord Sun has gone to 12th house. Both Rahu in 10th house and Ketu in 4th house are powerfully placed in dual signs in his horoscope, producing Raja Yoga. So this is because of that Raja Yoga, it is enhanced him to the higher level position. Now, the only secret behind this native is his karmic control planets. Mercury and Jupiter are his karmic control planets, posited in the asterism of Ketu, and Jupiter is aspecting his Raja Yoga in the ascendant. His Raja Yoga. See, here, Mercury and Jupiter, both of them are posited in Ketu Nakshatra. And Jupiter is aspecting his own house, Lagna, from the 9th house. So that's, the Raja Yoga has been completely established. President Rajendra Prasad did possesses below combination in his horoscope that elevated him to the highest position in the country. Mercury being the 10th house lord involved to give rise to a Raja Yoga. This yoga is placed in the ascendant. Mercury being the 10th house lord becomes the karmic control planet also. Both the planets Mercury and Jupiter giving rise to Raja Yoga are placed in the asterism of Ketu. Jupiter, the dispositor of this Raja Yoga, is another karmic control planet and is placed on the asterism of Ketu and also aspecting the Lagna Raja Yoga to give the Raja Yoga. Now, in the horoscope of political leaders, whenever the Lord of ninth house is posted in the 12th house, here in this case, Sun, the Lord of ninth, is be posted in the 12th house in Scorpio. So the native is likely to suffer political imprisonments. During Mercury Dasa, he became the first president of India and continued in the same position for 2 terms. Had Mars or Mercury give rise to Raja Yoga, where one of the planets is karmic control, been placed in the asterism of Rahu instead of Ketu, he would have become Prime Minister of India. See the thing, both the karmic control planets are positioned in Ketu. If one of them is positioned in Rahu, definitely would have been the position is going to be with power, with lot of powers. Whereas the presidential position in India are not with many powers. So this is the difference between the characteristics of Rahu and Ketu in his case. Now, next example. This is about Dr. Morarji Desai. He was also our Prime Minister of India once upon a time. By seeing this horoscope, no astrologer in the world can identify him, but on disclosing his name, people will immediately recognize him as our ex-Prime Minister. If you don't tell the name, then it is like any ordinary horoscope, and no one can identify this is Morarji Desai's horoscope. As per the astrological research, a person to be lucky and prominent if he has the planets in the angles, that is in Kendras. In this case, there is not a single planet in an angle. Here the Lagna is again Gemini Lagna, and 7th house is Sagittarius. Both Ketu and Rahu, both of them are posited in Leo and Aquarius respectively, along with Moon and Sun. Okay. There is a Dhyani Yoga in this horoscope due to the exchange of houses between Saturn and Venus. If you see, Saturn and Venus, they are exchanging their houses. 3 planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, are exalted, but Saturn and Jupiter are retrograde. So the retrograde planet which is exalted but retrograde will not have much power. So in this chart, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are in the 8th house, and Saturn, the ruler of 8th house, in the 5th house. That is, 7 out of the 12 houses are rendered weak and powerless. So what made him to the top position? So the point that wish to stress here is that without the knowledge of Rahu Ketu, or without incorporating them in the chart, this chart cannot justify the elevation of the person to the highest or the head of the government. There are very few horoscopes where you will find both the luminaries are with Rahu Ketu. That is, Sun and Moon, if they are posited in Rahu Ketu, that is going to be Raja Yoga, but it is very rarely we see in the charts. In this case, Rahu is with Sun and Ketu is with Moon, and this by itself is a very powerful Raja Yoga in Mr. Morarji Desai's chart. Sun conjunction to Rahu. It provides strong personal elevation wherever the Sun is located. Wherever Sun and Rahu are posited together, they actually give rise to a strong personal elevation to the native in whichever career, in whichever profession he is in. So responsibilities are also given often to them, just as they are ready to fulfill. So wherever Rahu Sun are connected, they are forced, or the circumstances will force them to take up the responsibilities. So in this chart, Sun conjuncts Rahu in his 9th house, and it provides a native success in his ambitions. Moon conjunction Ketu. The moon is greatly strengthened by being with the node. Rahu conjunction Sun and Ketu Rahu conjunction and Sun and Ketu conjunction Moon in the horoscope have formed practically the conditions of true eclipse when the native had suffered eclipses like condition in his life. If you look at Mr. Morarji Desai's life story, you have seen many times he has risen and fallen. So in his lifetime, politically and professionally. Now, Sun and Saturn are karmic controlling planets and they are in trine to each other, and the Sun is in conjunction with Rahu, which has elevated the native to be the head of the government. He became the prime minister during Mercury Mars Dasa. Mercury is the ruler of natal ascendant, and from its location, he is the ruler of the 6th and 9th houses. From its location, wherever Mercury is located, you look at that. From its position, he is the ruler of the 3rd and 6th and 9th houses. Mars, the ruler of the 4th and 11th from Mercury. Mars, if you look at it from Mercury, it is in the 4th and 11th houses, is exalted and placed in the 1st with the Mercury. Note that Mars is placed on the asterism of Sun and Mercury is placed in the asterism of Moon. At the time of election and his occupying the office of the Prime Minister, Rahu was transiting on his Saturn and Sun was transiting on the 10th house at that time. So to conclude, his elevation to the present position is purely karmic results of Rahu Ketu, but nothing else. With this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for patient listening. I just one suggestion to all the participants, that is, this is a research paper which I have brought in. So I request all of you to apply these rules and points which we have discussed by listening to my presentation a few times, and then ensure that the results are going to be matching with the results what you are predicting, or at least influencing the results or the karmic destiny of the native in his lifetime. So kindly do some more research on that and then get back to me if you need any help. Thank you very much.